Hello there, my name is Prasanjit, and in this video we'll be using Duet AI assistance to create a Python app and deploy it on Cloud Run. So let's get started. Now Duet AI is our pair programmer, our assistant that can help us on coding, explaining code, generating test cases, and also deploying it on Google Cloud. So we begin with enabling the Cloud AI Companion API. So this API needs to be enabled for Duet AI to work. Now once this is enabled, we will move on back to our Cloud shell, and we'll need to apply certain permissions and roles for it to work perfectly. So we'll start with setting up our project ID region settings, and once those values are populated into the system, we'll be able to run the rest of the commands. So here we have our project setup, and our region is US East 4, and I am using Quick Labs to create this demo. So next step would be to run the command that will set the user, and so we have our username set into the variable, and now I will run the rest of the commands to apply the roles. So just putting up those commands together, and here we have the add IAM policy binding for the particular project ID and member user, and the projects where I'll be applying those. So these are the roles that we have added to the project, and I think now we are good to go. So the next step is setting up Cloud Workstation, because we'll be using Google Cloud Workstation and the IDE. So we'll do just that. So we have a Cloud Workstation machine being spun up. If you want to learn in details how to set up Cloud Workstation, you can check my other video in this channel. So here we are setting up our workstation and trying to spin it up. Once the workstation has spun up, we will launch the IDE. So here we have the browser based IDE, similar to VS Code, just it's Code OSS, the open source version of it. So here we are, and you can see Cloud Code extension has been installed, and you can also see the Duet AI extension. Now we'll sign into the Cloud Code extension, and here we get this URL through which we'll be obtaining our keys. And so here is our login auth, and we'll just put the authorization code here and get it signed in. So you will see here we'll be signed in a while. Well, we are already signed in. Now we can go to change settings in order to set up Duet AI. So I search Duet AI over here and just check if all the things are enabled there. So all is well. So we have already signed in, and Duet AI is enabled as well. So we have the Duet AI chat screen. We can start with a prompt. So say I am new to Google Cloud and I want to use Google Cloud Code extension, and I want to build a sample app, and Duet AI gives me the response. Okay, you can do that, and what are the steps, what are the various options that I can use to deploy my app. because Google Cloud provides you Cloud Run, Cloud Functions, Cloud Build, and Cloud Deploy to run your app, build your app, and deploy your app. So I just want to know what is the difference between Cloud Run and Cloud Functions, since I have made up my mind to deploy it in a serverless manner. So it gives me the exact differences. While Cloud Functions lets you deploy snippets of code or functions, Cloud Run lets you deploy container images, and it further tells us that Cloud Functions has a request timeout of 9 minutes, while Cloud Run doesn't have that limitation. Duet AI also provides us the sources from which it gets the information, so that we can further read it and only execute the commands whenever we are sure of doing a certain thing. So the next question I would ask Duet is, how do I create a new Cloud Run app, since I have made up my mind to run this application on Cloud Run? Now it gives me detailed step-by-step process, and since I am working on a Visual Studio Code or Code OS's IDE, what would be the option of using it? So it tells me go to command palette and launch it, and then search for launching a new application. So I just search new, and here Cloud Code new application. So that provides me 3 different options: Kubernetes, Cloud Run, and Cloud Functions, and different other options as well. So I select Cloud Run. Now it tells me, like, do you want a Python, Flask, Django, or Go, Node.js, Java.net? So I choose Python Flask as the application type, and here I'm creating the project folder. So I just want to let it be hello world, and here we are. It'll create the project folder with standard templated files that are needed for a Python Flask application. So isn't that magical? So you can also see the app.py file alongside requirements.txt and even a Docker file, so that will help me containerize this. And here you can see it has the base image and all the different steps that are needed to build this Docker file once I am done with writing the code for my application. And it would even have a hello world template code. Now say for example I want to understand what's there in the Docker file, so I click on explain this, and it explains me each and every line from that Docker file and what it does, what is that directive meant for. So here you can see all the different steps have been explained, and so you can feel confident about running that Docker file because you now know each and every line of that file and understand what it does. So here we are. Now we have this template Docker file as well. The next question to do it that I ask in the prompt is there a Cloud Run local emulator? Because I would like to run this on the local emulator, so that I do not have to directly deploy on Cloud Run again and again. I can test it out in my IDE itself, and it says you can do it, and there is an option, and these are the steps to launch the local emulator. So we'll do just that, and I'll show you how to do it. Now before that, let's ask some follow-up questions like this one, where how can I use Cloud Run local emulator using the command palette for VS Code? As I said, this is a VS Code OSS version, so the syntax and the places where you find stuff are the same for VS Code as well. So it tells me the steps, how to open the command palette and get into that selection. So here we are on the command palette. I type run app on local Cloud Run emulator, and here I get the option. So here is the Cloud Run emulator opening up, and in the settings it's Docker already that we are using to build our container, and I would like to run it locally on Cloud Run because that's the aim. to run it on a local Cloud Run emulator, and I click on run. So it is creating the launch configuration in my local machine, that is this cloud workstation. And once it is done, you can see all these steps that are going on in the background. It is actually setting up Minikube, which is a Kubernetes version, but all these are abstracted, and the Knative apps will run behind the scenes. You will see Cloud Run running as an emulator on your machine. So we'll wait for a while for this to get set up. So while this is getting set up, I think we can talk a bit about the Duet AI capabilities as well. So if there are any errors, then Duet AI can assist us to resolve those errors. If while writing code we have certain challenges, it can assist us. And even after writing a code, if we want to check the correctness, it can help us create test cases to validate each and every step and function. So now you can see the Minikube cluster is getting spun up and the configurations are working. So I just select the project where I want to run this, and here we can see it is initiating some updates, and the build has started for the hello world code that we already have in our app.py. So well, the code has been built and deploy has been completed, and you can see it running on port 8080. Now we are opening it on the workstation URL for port 8080. Now here you can see it is running and good to go. So we have a local Cloud Run emulator which is running and working for us just like Cloud Run would on the cloud. Now let's have a look at the app.py file. So the app.py file is a simple hello world file that has been generated on the template. Now I would like to modify it a bit and create a real application out of it. So I create another file called inventory.py, and within that file we'll put some random data that will serve as the source for our API and publish values when we hit that API. So we ask Duet, can you create a variable called inventory, which is a list of 3 JSON objects, and populate it with random values. So here we get a sample JSON to that effect, and we copy it over to inventory.py. You can see how easy it is by just clicking on the plus symbol. The code is transferred into our file here. So we have inventory.py ready. Now we'll modify our app.py to be able to consume this file and show us the key value pairs. So we'll move on to our app.py file now. So we have an app route called / and here you can see from Flask import Flask render template, we add the JSONify as well here, so that we will be able to consume that JSON in our inventory .py file. So rest of the things should be fine. We will now create another app route that we'll use for this particular API endpoint. So but we'll use Duet AI to help us out here. So what I'll do is I'll just put a comment here instead of writing the code myself, and ask Duet what is expected to be done here. So the comment here is generate an app route to display the list of inventory items in the JSON format from the inventory.py file. So plain English, and then we can follow up with some more suggestions. Use the get method, because as I said, we are going to create this route for an API endpoint. So we'll use the get method so that someone just hits it, it will fetch the data from inventory.py and display as the API response. So let's see, and now you select this and then move on to the next line, and you can already see the app suggestions. So you can either accept or decline that suggestion. And another way is to generate code option on that bulb light symbol. So here I have accepted that by pressing tab, and here I would like to add some more conditionals in the command, like generate an app route to get a product from a list of inventory items, and given the product ID, if there is no product ID, it should give a 404 error. Now and I ask it to generate code, and it generates the code to do just that. And just go through the code. If there is any mistake anywhere, then you can try to regenerate or fix it yourself. In this case, it looks good. So now we saved that, and we can just refresh the page in our local emulator and try to hit the inventory app endpoint. So here we are, we get the response for the inventory endpoint that we just created, and our API response is coming from the inventory.py file. So it is working. So we'll go ahead and try to figure out only one product ID, for example. So let's query that, and here we are, we get the values for that particular product ID. So that is how we are able to use Duet AI to help us code API endpoint, and just with plain English comments we are able to generate the code and make it work, and also run it on the local Cloud Run emulator. Now the next task is to run it on real Google Cloud. Until now we were running this on Cloud Run emulator. Now we'll go to the command palette and ask it to deploy on Cloud Run. So here it asks to enable the Cloud Run API. So since this is tightly integrated to the cloud, you can see we are directly enabling the API through this IDE as well. And here we will choose the service name, which is hello world already, the region where we want to deploy. In our case, the region was US East 4, I suppose. Yeah, and the service name looks good, and we don't need authentication in this case, just a demo. So we'll allow an authenticator response. We'll create that service, that is good. And for the build environment, it is local, and you can also choose cloud build, but we are not using Google Cloud Build as our CI service. So we'll be using Docker as the local CI service, and I click on deploy. So here we are, we can see the stuff that is going on in the background, and the image is getting built locally on this machine, and finally it will be pushed to the registry, and through that deployed to our Cloud Run service in our project in Google Cloud. So you can see the Docker image is getting pushed into the repository. So the push is complete. Now the gcloud command to deploy it on Cloud Run is getting executed, and as a part of that, IAM policies are being set, revisions are being set up. It is deploying the container to the Cloud Run service, and it should be done in a few moments. So we'll just wait and watch, and you can see as developers how easy it is for you to build and deploy without having to move out from your IDE. And for suggestions, you're just looking at Duet AI, and you're not going to Stack Overflow or any other external websites. So it covers most of the things that a developer does in a life cycle of building and deploying code. And for full stack developers, Duet AI is really helping to be as an assistant that helps take care of your DevOps or operational aspects of deploying on the cloud. And in the other videos, I'll show you as well how it will help you troubleshoot. It will help you understand logs, figure out what the problem could be, suggest solutions or references that you can follow to solve it yourself. So stay tuned, watch these videos, try to get hands-on with Duet AI, because code assistance will help you a long way in becoming an efficient developer and increasing your productivity by many folds. So here we are, our build is complete. Now we have the service URL. So let's get into the service URL link and see whether our application is deployed fine on Google Cloud Run. So here we are, it's running there. Now we can go ahead and check our API endpoint that we built, inventory. And here we are, we have our JSON being displayed there, and we can take any one of the inventory product IDs and we are able to see it. So it's working perfectly fine as it was in the Cloud Run emulator locally. So that is all from today's session. Stay tuned and keep learning about Duet AI and keep increasing your efficiency. Thank you.